so that if someone comes in and says, I was absent and I don't know how to do number 4, I can say, guess that's up to you. Okay, in number 4, this is another one of those mixture problems, very similar to the one we did in our notes yesterday. If we have 8 ounces of a solution that's 30% chlorine, how would I figure out how much chlorine is actually in that first solution? What would I write down? 0.30 what? 0.30. Well, I'm going to use A because it's talking about mixture A. You could use X there as well. That's fine. Okay, so 30% of A is chlorine, and then 40% of B is chlorine, so 0.40 B. And what does that have to equal when I add it all together? 18. Has to equal 18 ounces. Good. By the way, this problem has an extra line in it. That really freaked out 4th hour, but yeah, cross it off. Okay. Now it says graph the solutions, and I will tell you that you could graph the solutions knowing what you know right now. What you would have to do is either solve this like for A or B, which would be like getting it in slope-intercept form, and then graph it that way. Or you could start plugging some random numbers into A and B and make some pairs so you could graph them and connect them to make a line. The easiest way to graph this one is a way that you have not learned yet. So I'm going to show it to you right now. And I will teach it to you more in depth like Thursday and Friday. But if this does not make sense to you right now, that's why, because we haven't talked about it yet. I do want to come up with at least 2 pairs of numbers that I could graph. Okay, because that's all I need are 2 pairs, and then I can put the points on the graph. So that means I'm going to have to take some random numbers and plug them in for either A or B. What's the easiest number to plug into an equation?
21.
1. 0. I heard it. 0. Yeah. I would go with 0, because if you plug zeros into stuff, it's going to make stuff cancel out, and then you won't have as much work to do. So if I put a 0 in for A, that means I'm going to put a 0 there, and I'm going to be left with 0.40B equals 18. What would I do to solve that for B? Divide. So let's divide by 0.40. Divide by 0.40. And I think you get 45. Is that right? Check that for me. Don't just believe me. I'm wrong all the time. 18 divided by 0.4. Am I right? Okay. All right. So now I need another pair. What do you suggest?
1.
Okay, I could do 1. I mean, 1 wouldn't be terrible, but it would still be more math than doing something else. Alex? Yeah, 0, but where this time? Yeah, this time let's put the 0 in for B. Okay, so let's put the 0 here. So I'd get 0.30A equals 18. So this time 0 is going in for B. 0.30A equals 18. What's 18 divided by 0.3? 60. Yep. So now I have 2 coordinates that I could graph. Okay, and so to get to those numbers, I'm probably going to count by tens. Okay, and I'm going to say, instead of x and y, I'm going to use a and b on my axes here.
Axes?
Plural of axis. Like you don't say axes. Axes is plural. So that first point, 0, 45 would be 0 on the A axis and 45, 45 on the B axis. So there's my first point. That's 0, 45. And then 60, 0 would be 60 this way and 0 up and down. Okay, so those are actually the intercepts of the graph. And then what I would do is connect them, because in this problem it does make sense to connect them. You can have like 4.2 ounces of something. Okay, decimals are a possibility. Now, so we already covered we should connect these points. What about extending it past this graph? What about putting arrows on it? What are your thoughts on that? if I extend it, what kind of numbers am I going to be getting into here?
Bigger ones,
Not bigger ones.
smaller ones.
Negatives. Okay. Do negative numbers make sense in this situation? No, they don't. So I would leave your graph just like that, connected, but don't go beyond what's shown there for you. Okay, now letter C says give 3 pairs of integer values for A and B that satisfy the equation. Well, integers, that's just a fancy way of saying nice, happy whole numbers. Okay. Well, didn't I already find 2? Here's a pair, here's a pair. Those are both integer pairs. So it could be 0, 45. Could be 60, 0. And then I need one more pair. So what I would do is I would take a look at your graph and look if you can find anywhere where the graph looks like it crosses right on a grid line. Right on a corner. Anyone see anything? Say it again? 30 and 20. So like here maybe? So what I would have to do before I can actually write that down is check and make sure that that works. So 30 and 20, I would plug into my problem for A and B. I'll do that down here. So 0.30 times 30 plus 0.40 times 20. Someone plug that in for me? Sorry, it's down there in the corner. 0.30 times 30 plus 0.40 times 20. Got 17? Okay. So that one doesn't quite work. Are you looking at this one?
Yeah.
So, oh, I see. That's a 20 and a 30 also. Yep. So if you made this a 20 and this a, oh, I should just rewrite it. 0.30 times 20 plus 0.40 times 30. I think that one does work.
That's what you think about.
Okay. So this point right here represents a pair of 20 and 30. So that's another pair. Okay. Part D says if 18.6 ounces of the 40% solution. So is that 18.6 A or B? B because, okay, because it's which solution? It's the 40% solution, which was our B up above. That's what I was going for there. Okay, so the 18.6 ounces of the 40% solution, the 40% solution was B up here. Okay, so I'm going to take that 18.6 and plug it in for B. I might have to go over here for that. So I'm going back to that original equation I wrote, 0.30A plus 0.40, and then here I'm plugging in 18.6. No, you do not. No, you could do just 0.3 and 0.4. I want it to still equal 18, and I'm just solving to figure out what A value would make that work. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I have it here. I like that. So 0.30A, here when I do the 0.40 times 18.6, I get 7.44. Subtract 7.44 from each side. I end up with 0.30A equals 10.56. Divide by 0.3, and I end up with A is 35.2. Questions on how I did that at all? Was there anything else on this page you needed help with? Okay. Okay.